There is a new slogan that is running around, and the slogan goes like this. It says, question everything. Now it sounds very smart at the first hearing, but if you put it to careful scrutiny, you will notice there are a couple of problems with the statement itself. So, the first thing that we need to ask ourselves is, what does the statement mean by the term everything? So, does the everything include reason itself? And does the everything include the sanity of the person questioning?
You've been made wise by so much religion. You always know what to do.
So greetings, beloved of God. Now today I want us to go through a certain slogan that is going on around called question everything. Now, did you notice that the statement itself is a contradiction? So today I'm going to take us through to demonstrate conclusively that that statement itself, question everything, is itself a contradiction. So this is the first step in determining the problem with that slogan. Now the slogan itself makes a claim, test everything. So the first thing that we need to do is that put the slogan itself in the test. So what we are going to question is the slogan itself, because that's the first step. Because if it passes its own test, then we can let it move and see where it goes. But if it fails its own test, then that means the slogan itself is self-defeating. So I'm going to show us why the slogan itself, one, is not practical. You cannot question everything. Now let's start with the first premise. If everything includes the mind or reason of the person questioning, then what we are doing is that the person questioning will not have a ground even to start the questioning. Because if they doubt, if we start by questioning the sanity of the person questioning, then the question is, where will the questioner stand when questioning everything if there is doubt even in their own reason or right state of mind? Because there's no way you're going to question if you're not in your right state of mind. Now I'm going to ask you a question. In the morning when you're moving to work, let's say you're using a public means, did you question the driver? How sure are you that he was going to take you to your place of work safe without ramming you guys into another car? Now the simple answer is, you did not ask that, and it was not even something to consider. So what were you doing? You just used trust. You trusted that they are going to take you to the place of destination. So what am I saying is that before we do something, there has to be a foundation. Now the foundation has to be trust. In this case, for you to question, you must first trust your ability to question or your state of mind before you even start questioning. Because if there is doubt in your state of mind, then that statement itself is impractical. You cannot question if you're not in your right state of mind. So the first thing that we are doing is we have to question the statement itself. So in this case, it fails because for you to question everything, you will question your mind. You will also question your sanity, which is in itself not practicable or practical in any case. So the second thing that we are going to run is that if we cannot question the statement itself or the slogan itself, then that means the statement falls on its own because it is excluded in the questioning, or it's excluded in the everything. So the first test is putting the slogan in a test, which it would fail because there is no practicality in it, and it is not what we usually do. The second test also, if it cannot be questioned, then that means it is a faith statement, it is a dogma, and then it is another religion, if you look at it that way. So if you moved from one church to the other because you are questioning everything, that means that you have left a faith system and you have joined another faith system, which is question yourself or question everything. So what's the solution? The word of God says in Isaiah 1:18, it says, "Come, let us reason together." That means that we cannot reason properly if we are not united with God or with the reason of God. It says, "Come, let us reason together." Now, when Adam fell, the human reason also fell. And that is why it is important that Christ took on human flesh. Now, for we to say human flesh, then it means that it has to have a mind, it has to have a soul. That means Christ took on whatsoever he wanted to heal. So whatsoever he had, whatsoever he assumed, he also healed. Now included is the human reason. So that means that once we are united with God's mind or God's reason with Christ or the Word of God, then our reason is healed, brought to its proper way of functioning. That is why in the book of Genesis, God did not have to name animals. Why? He just brought them before Adam to see what he would name them. And Adam named them without any correction. Why? Because Adam was united with God's reason or God's mind. So when we fell from God's mind. That is why when we are being redeemed, we are redeemed back to God's mind or reason. So we must be united with the reason of God for us to reason properly. Now, John 1:4 says, "In him was the life, and that life was the light of men." Light meaning the guiding principle of men. That is why it is important that we are guided by true reason. So this is what we need to know concerning the statement, question everything. Now that statement itself has various assumptions. Now, one of the assumptions is that it is assuming that the person questioning is at the right state of mind and they are capable of making a conscious choice, or they are capable of questioning correctly. Now, it assumes that human reason is itself dependable. Now, that cannot be proved. You cannot prove that your reason is dependable. So that is one assumption that is in the slogan. That means without that assumption, the slogan cannot work. Because if you cannot trust your own reasoning, then how will you question everything? So that means the statement itself is a dogma. The statement itself is a religious statement. So if you are running away from religion because of this slogan, that means you have jumped from one religion to another religion. And that means it is better you go back to the church because you've already started another religion. So that is how dangerous such slogans are. They are moving people away from the knowledge of God. Now it appears very clever, it appears very intellectual, but it is dangerous, and then it fails, and lastly, it is a contradiction in itself. So shalom. God bless you.